بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. صلى الله عليك يا سيدي يا رسول الله. صلى الله عليك وعلى أهل بيتك الطيبين الطاهرين. صلى الله عليك وعلى ابن عمك الأنزع البطين العالم المكين علي أمير المؤمنين. فاز من اعتصم بحبلكم وأمن من لجأ إلى حصنكم. يا ليتنا كنا معكم سادتي فنفوز فوزا عظيما. In chapter 33 verse 23 the Quran reads بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم من المؤمنين رجال صدقوا ما عاهدوا الله عليه فمنهم من قضى نحبه ومنهم من ينتظر وما بدلوا تبديلا. And among the believers are men who have been true to their covenant, to their oath with Allah. Of them are those that have fulfilled their obligation, meaning martyr, and some of them that are still waiting. But they have never changed. They have never changed that oath, that they have, that covenant that they have with Allah. When looking at the life of Ameer Almu'mineen, we can look at it in two ways. We can look at it as during the life of the Prophet and after the life of the Prophet. One thing we need to look at is the position of Ameer Al-Mu'mineen salawatullahi wa salamuhu alayhi. What do I mean by that? Our connection to the Imam salawatullahi wa salamuhu alayhi is not that of an emotional connection and that's it. Nor is it of a historical connection. Rather, it is that of a religious affiliation and connection. Our connection to Ali ibn Abi Talib salawatullahi wa salamuhu alayhi is because we see him as one of the channels of tashri', of legislation in Islam. And we said this in a previous episode. One of the ways of legislation is the Quran, and another one is the Sunnah. The Sunnah of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wa alihi and his family. And we explained and we spoke about this, and we said that is because the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wa alihi says, إِنِّي تَارِكٌ فِيكُمُ الثَّقَلَيْنِ كِتَابُ اللَّهِ وَعِتْرَةِ أَهْلَ بَيْتِ. Now we want to look at that. We want to see, how does Ameer al-Mu'mineen fit into that? Do we have a necessity for a Khalifa, a successor after the Prophet? And what are the obligations of that Khalifa? When looking at religion, we can also look at religion in two ways. We can say that religion is sent down as a temporary thing, something that Allah has sent down to fit within human society. Or we can say that religion is an eternal thing, and that religion is sent to correct human society and behavior. Let's take the first one. If God sent religion to fit within human society, and it is there temporarily, that would lead us to a couple of things. Number one, let's explore this a bit more further. Human nature is ever evolving. Human society is ever evolving. Human nature is not. We find that throughout history, humanity, regardless of how far back you go, has always looked towards the heavens for an answer, has always looked for what is beyond the seen, what is beyond the understood, and that will never end. No matter how far religion, no matter how far science advances, it will never put out religion, because religion does not address the same issues that science does. And for those that assume it does are mistaken. The Quran is not a book of science. The Quran is not a physics book. It's not a mathematical book. It doesn't answer physics or mathematics or biology or any of those. The Quran is a moral book. It's a book sent by the Lord, by your Lord, in order to guide mankind morally. However, at times, it refers, for its own reason, for its own benefit, it would refer to a scientific method. But that is not the purpose behind it. So for those individuals that are trying to prove whether the Quran claims if the earth is round or the earth is flat or if there is extraterrestrials or there isn't, that is not the obligation of the Quran in that sense. Yes, the infallible, the Prophet, might be able to extract that knowledge from the Quran, but you and I cannot. The Quran clearly states that everything is mentioned within it. However, that knowledge is not reached by you and I. That knowledge is reached by the individuals that have been purified by their Lord, that are able to do so. The Quran says, لا يمسه إلا المطهرون. It cannot be understood, comprehended, other than by those who are purified. And we explained this in an earlier episode. Now, if we were to say that the Quran has been sent, or the message of God is sent to fit within society, then I should not be punished if I decide not to go against it. Not only that, that would make it a temporary message. A temporary message, meaning that when the Prophet is gone, so is his message. After he leaves, the message is left up to us to interpret. And when I said that we don't have to follow it, because society changes, it's an evolving state. Therefore, we believe that the Quran was not sent to fit within society. Rather, it was sent to correct society. And that is where we bring in the necessity for imamah. We see the Prophet, he says, إِنَّمَا بُعِثْتُ لِأُتَمِّمَ مَكَارِمِ الْأَخْلَاقِ. I have been sent to complete, to perfect the mannerisms, or the best of mannerisms that exist. Now, notice that the Prophet says لِأُتَمِّمْ. Utammim means to complete or to perfect. The Quran did not come up with something new. The Quran is here to perfect our nature and our societies. That perfection does not happen overnight, nor does that perfection happen without the will of the people. We see the Prophet ﷺ, when he revealed his message to humanity, Quraysh said, why is it that he was chosen? Why wasn't one of the two aristocrats from the two tribes chosen, specific individuals that would have fit their wants better than the Prophet? Because the Prophet does not fit my wants. The Prophet fits the wants of God. And I have to change myself in order to fit those wants. The wants of the Almighty for us. Allah did not give us that choice because Allah knows best where to place His message. He knows best who is fit and who is worthy of that message, and who will deliver it better. However, after the Prophet, when the Prophet passes, what happens next? Does that power go back to the society itself and they get to decide? Or does it stay remaining with God and God chooses who comes after? If we were to say that that power should go back to society and that society should vote and choose who is the representation of God, we fall into the same issues that we have with modern politics. where they would come out, they would present themselves, and we would choose. And if we choose, that the choice might not always be correct, nor would it always be for our benefits. Because what if the individual lies? What if that's not his nature? What if he's not honest in his message? Not only that, it leads into the fact of fawda, of chaos. It would be trying to shuffle from one end to another, trying to figure out what's right and what's wrong, trying to establish what's right and what's wrong, not knowing exactly how to fit it in, not knowing exactly who to trust. However, if that individual was an infallible chosen by God, an individual who does not commit mistakes, who walks on the path of God, not because I watch him and he walks out of shame from me, but he does so because that is God's way and he is a servant of God, a true servant of God, then we wouldn't fall into this issue. We see Fatima al-Zahra salawatullahi wa salamuhu alayha, she says, وَجَعَلَ اللَّهُ إِمَامَتَنَا أَمَانًا مِنَ الْفِرْقَةِ. And Allah has made our imamat a safeguard from division. However, the division fell within the imamat. People refused to follow the imamat of the Prophet, the individuals that the Prophet had guided. Now the question that begs itself is, why did Imam Ali salawatullahi wa salamu alayhi not fight back for his power? Because he clearly stated his dislike and disdain for his predecessors, for the first three Khalifa, where he says, أما والله لقد تقمصها ابن أبي قحافة وإنه ليعلم أن محلي منها محل القطب من الرحى. By God, Abu Quhafa, or Ibn Abi Quhafa, wore a shirt that did not belong to him, and he knows my place of it. My place of it is the place of a turning wheel or grinding wheel, the top end of a grinding wheel that they used to use. Al-Raha, Al-Qutb wal-Raha is what they used to use to grind wheat, which is a stationary stone and a rotating stone on top, a heavy rotating stone on top, and you would put the wheat through the middle and you would spin the stone, and that way it would crush the crush the wheat. So the Imam says, my position from this Khilafah is the position of the top part, the Qutb, from the Raha, from the bottom part of the grinder. Meaning that without the top part, the bottom part is a simple stone, useless. It's a useless stone. Therefore, without me, Khilafah is useless. Adding to that, Ameer Almu'mineen salawatullahi wa salamuhu alayhi, he says, لكني أسففت مع القوم إذ أسفوا وطرت معهم إذ طاروا. However, he describes himself as a bird that flows close to water and that rises away, or that flies off. He says, even though they took this from me, فصبرت على طول المدة وطخية المحنة. I was patient for as long as it was and as hard as it was. فصبرت وبالعين قضى وبالحلق شجى. I was patient like an individual who was patient over the sand in his eye and something bad in his mouth. وطفقت أرتئي بين أن أصول بيد جذاء أو أصبر على طخية عمياء. He says, and I walked around as if I was walking around with a chopped arm, trying to ask people for something, but I have no arms to ask with. Or patient over someone who has been harmed in his eyes to the point where he is blind. Nonetheless, he says, and I will be patient so long as the harm is only towards me and the Muslim Ummah is at peace. He continues, salawatullahi wa salamuhu alayhi, on this path, in the path where he describes himself in such a sense to a point, salawatullahi wa salamuhu alayhi, where he's not only taken from his position, the position of the Khalifa, the true Khalifa of the Prophet, the continuation of the message of the Prophet salawatullahi wa salamuhu alayhi. Rather, he says, أنزلني الدهر فأنزلني فأنزلني حتى قيل علي ومعاوية. I have been belittled by this dahr, by time, and then again, until finally they say Ali and Muawiyah are equal. Why is that? We said Allah Jalla Thana'uhu brought the prophets, and that prophet delivers the message. If that message is to be continuous and eternal, there has to be a continuous representation for that message, and a representation that has to translate the message for us as we continually go along. Otherwise, if it was up to us, we wouldn't know who to decide, or whom to choose, or who was the rightful successor. Hence, you see, Abu Bakr was selected by Shura. However, by Shura meaning that he was elected by specific individuals. When it came to Umar, Abu Bakr put the wasiyah for Umar. When it comes to Uthman, Umar said, collect these 6 individuals, put them in a home, and let them decide. And if they do not decide, kill them all. So even to them it was unclear. Or we shouldn't say it was very clear to them. Rather, they convoluted it. But when it came to Ameer Almu'mineen, his position was always the same. أما والله لقد تقمصها. By Allah, he wore a shirt that did not belong to him. And Sayyidah Fatima, she says, salawatullahi wa salamu alayha, she says, and you have taken your camels to drink from a foreigner's water. Meaning that you guys didn't do the right thing, that you guys didn't have the right to do what you did. We see the Quran reads in chapter 33, verse 36, وَمَا كَانَ لِمُؤْمِنٍ وَلَا مُؤْمِنَةٍ إِذَا قَضَى اللَّهُ وَرَسُولُهُ أَمْرًا أَن يَكُونَ لَهُمُ الْخِيرَةُ مِنْ أَمْرِهِمْ. And it is not for the believers, man or woman, when Allah and His Messenger have decreed a matter, that they should have any option in their decision. It's no longer in their hands. They're commanded at that point. And whoever disobeys Allah and His Messenger has indeed strayed in a plain error, clear mistake has made. We narrate, or it is narrated, from both accounts, the Shi'i and the Sunni accounts, from both schools of thought, multiple ways, the favor of Ameer al-Mu'mineen and the favor that he had during the time of the Prophet. However, when we look at the life of Ameer al-Mu'mineen after the Prophet, is when you see how lonely he became. We see the Prophet salawatullahi wa salamu alayhi, when he passed away, the Sahaba didn't even bother preparing him or burying him. Rather, they ran off to the Saqifa of Bani Sa'ad in order to fight over Khilafah. While Ameer al-Mu'mineen was left with his uncle Al-Abbas, and they prepared the Prophet and they buried the Prophet. And the Imam, Salamullahi alayhi, used to sit at the Prophet's grave and cry. Fatima Zahra, peace be upon her, after the passing of the Prophet, used to cry day and night. So the same individuals that were in Saqifa used to come to Imam Ali, and they used to tell him, tell Fatima, either to cry during the day or to cry during the night. They say she used to go and sit next to a tree, next to the Prophet's grave. She used to sit under its shade. They came and they chopped off that tree, so she has no place to sit. Ameer al-Mu'mineen was forced to build a small hut for her just outside the border of Medina, where she used to take Imam Hassan and Imam Hussein She used to take them there and she would cry over the Prophet because nobody wanted to hear her cry in the Medina. When she passed away, the Prophet, the Imam salawatullahi wasalamu alayhi, they say after he buried her, he stood up at the Prophet's grave and he says, Ya Rasulullah, the wadi'ah, the promise you have entrusted me with, I have returned. She has returned to you. However, ask her of what has befallen. The Imam salawatullahi wasalamu alayhi started losing every one of his companions from the time of Uthman and onward. The time of Uthman, Bani Umayyah were extremely harsh towards the Shia of Ameer Almu'mineen. Ameer Almu'mineen salawatullahi wasalamu alayhi, when they kicked out Abu Dharr al-Ghifari, Abu Dharr al-Ghifari was known, in the narration they say that, according to the narration, it says that the Prophet said that Abu Dharr has been filled with Iman from his head to his toe. And the Prophet in the narration says that there is nobody more truthful than Abu Dharr. However, they abandoned him to they exiled him to the desert where he passed away. Malik al-Ashtar, Radwanullahi ta'ala alayh, was poisoned on his way to Egypt. Muhammad ibn Abi Bakr, Rabib Amir al-Mu'mineen, the man who was raised by Amir al-Mu'mineen, he was killed and he was put inside the body of an animal and burnt. They say one of the companions of Amir al-Mu'mineen, he says, I went looking for Amir al-Mu'mineen and I couldn't find him. So I asked where he was. They told me he left the Medina. He walked out. When he walked, he said, I followed him. I saw him sitting on the ground. And he was playing with the sand with his hand, digging a hole into the sand and speaking to the hole. He says, when I got closer to him, I heard him say, وَبِالصَّدْرِ لُبَانَاتٍ إذا ضاق لها صدري نكدت الأرض بالكف وأبديت لها سري فمهما تنبت الأرض فذاك النبت من بدري. He says, and within my hearts are constrictions. I'm constricted with pain. If I become overly constricted, I dig a small hole into the ground and I give my secrets to that hole. So whatever this ground bears, then that is my fruit. In a poem, he used to speak to death, and he used to say to death, why is it that you follow me? ألا أيها الموت الذي لاحقي أرحني فقد أفنيت كل خليلي أراك بصيرا بالذين أحبهم كأنك تحوي نحوهم بدليلي. O death, who does not leave me, أرحني, give me relief, meaning take me. فقد أفنيت كل خليلي, you have taken all of my loved ones. I see that you have your eye on everyone that I love. It's as if you go towards them according to how much I love them. They say Amir al-Mu'mineen salawatullahi wasalamu alayhi, on such a night, he was laying in his bed. The orphans had gathered outside his doors with milk, as that was what was prescribed by the doctors for the Imam. Imam al-Hasan in the narration comes out and he says to the people, go home. The Imam needs to rest. There is no point of you standing there. Ansarifu yarhamkumullah. They say one of the individuals, everybody left. However, there was one individual that couldn't leave. So the Imam heard wailing and crying outside of the door. When he came back, he saw a man sitting down. His name is Al-Asbagh ibn Nabata. He says to him, Ya Asbagh, did I not ask you to leave? He says, Bala Sayyidi, but my legs can't carry me. Let me see my Imam. Al-Asbagh enters and he says, I saw Amir al-Mu'mineen and his head was wrapped with a yellow bandana, with a red wrap, with a yellow wrap. He says, when I saw him, I started crying, and I said, فَيَا أَسَفِي عَلَى الْمَوْلَى التَّقِيِّ أَبِي الْأَطْهَارِ حَيْدَرَةَ الزَّكِيِّ. Oh, my sorrow over you, Abul Hassan, the father of the pure ones, the one who was Zaki, who was purified. And I started crying. He says that Imam looked at me and said, Ya Asbagh, innaha al-Jannah. Why do you cry? I am to heaven. I will go to heaven. Al-Asbagh says, Sayyidi, inni a'lamu innaha al-Jannah, walakinnani abki li faraqik. Says, Sayyidi, I know that it is Jannah. However, I cry because I will not be able to see you here. I cry because you will not be with us anymore. They say that Sayyida Zainab alayha salatu wassalam was standing behind the curtain. When she was standing behind the curtain, she called on Imam Hussein and she asked him to see Imam Ameer Almu'mineen. She says to him, she says, Aba Abdullah, why is it that I do not hear Ameer Almu'mineen anymore? He says, come and see him. She came to him, she saw him. She says, my father, why is it that I see your forehead dripping with sweat? But the sweat is not normal, it's shining, it's glimmering sweat. However, your aneen has stopped. Your aneen means your pain, the sound of pain, the sound of moaning from pain. He says, Bunayya Zainab, know that when a mu'min is about to die, his forehead sweats. However, his pains are reduced. His pains stop. She started crying, she hugged him and she says, Aba ya Amir al-Mu'mineen, لقد حدثتني أيمن بحديث كربلاء. Ayman has told me of what happens in Karbala. However, I want to hear it from you. He says to her, بني زينب الحديث كما حدثتك به أيمن فكأني بك ونساء أهلك سبايا في هذا البلد خاشعين فصبرا صبرا. He says, Bunayya Zainab, the information is as was told to you by Ayman. And I can see you and your family and your sisters and the women from your family prisoners in this land. Be patient, O Zainab. فَصَبْرًا صَبْرًا. She says, Abba, I want someone to take charge over my affairs after you leave. He says, Bunayya Zainab, you have Hassan and you have Hussein, your brothers. She says, no, my father. Hassan and Hussein are my imams, and I serve them. However, I want someone from my brothers who would be at my service, at my beck and call when I need. He says, Bunayya Zainab, you have a lot of brothers. Choose whomever you see. She says, then she looked around, and one individual stood out. One man stood out with his head up high, and his chest puffed out forward as I imagine him. And she says, Abba, I choose Al-Abbas. They say he called upon him, he brought him, and he put his hand in the hand of Imam of Sayyidah Zainab. And he says, Bunayya Abbas, هذه وديعتي عندك. Do not let any harm comes to her. I entrust her within you. Don't let any harm come to her. They say Amir al-Mu'mineen salawatullahi wa salamuhu alayhi, he was known as the protector of the weak. However, in the time of Karbala, he couldn't make it. He didn't come. Rather, Zainab salamullahi alayha called Al-Abbas when she saw Al-Sham talking to him. And she said to him, Abbas, did you know that this is the day when your father expected you to protect your family, to protect Al-Hussein? He says, you do not need to say that to me, Zainab. I will protect them as much as I can, as long as I can, as long as I have an arm to raise, and as long as I have a breath to withdraw. That is why a lot of our scholars, they draw a comparison between Al-Abbas and Amir al-Mu'mineen. They draw a comparison between how Al-Abbas was to Imam Hussein, which is the exact same way that Ameer Almu'mineen was to the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa ala alihi. Hence the poet says, بطل تورث من أبيه شجاعة فيها أنوف بني الضلالة تغرم. He is an individual, he is a soldier, he is a warrior, a hero, who had inherited all of that from his father. Ameer al-Mu'mineen salawatullahi wa salamuhu alayhi, in his final days, in his final hours, looks at Imam al-Hasan, he says, Bunay Hasan, give me a drink of milk. The Imam brings him a drink of milk. He drinks a sip from it, then he gives it to Imam Hassan. He says, take it to your prisoner. Imam al-Hasan says to him, Father, this individual killed you, this individual harmed you, and you're telling us to be good to him? He says, Bala ya bunay. Yes, we are a family that every time we are sinned towards, we receive more from Allah. And the karam, generosity, and goodness is from us, is a part of us. We do not treat people badly. If I die, Ya Hassan, strike him once, and do not do anything bad to his body after he dies. Do not torture his body, or do not shred his body. Don't do anything. Do not burn him. Do not do anything like that. Because the Prophet, I have heard the Prophet say, إِنَّ الْمُثْلَةَ حَرَامٌ وَلَوْ بِالْكَلْبِ الْعَقُورِ. Muthla is when an individual dies. After they die, you start taking vengeance on the individual's body, regardless of who that individual is. It's unaccepted and it's wrong, and Islam denounces it. It's forbidden in Islam. They say that Imam then requested for a second drink of water. However, this time he drank the whole water, and then or the milk. And then he remembered. He says, Bunay Hassan, I have drank all of this cup, and this might be the last thing that I have from this earth. However, I want you to carry the same amount to your servant, to your prisoner. They say Imam continued in this position until the next day, the day of the next morning, when the sun came out. When the sun came out, he looked and he says, Allahumma ashhad ala Ali. Oh Lord, ishhad, you are witness that not once has this sun risen and I was asleep. Ameer al-Mu'mineen was always awake during the time of Fajr for the prayer. Ameer al-Mu'mineen salawatullahi wa salamuhu alayhi gives us the best example of the individuals that we need to be and we should be and we should strive for. Therefore, when we talk about the connection to Ameer al-Mu'mineen, it's not a simple emotional one. It is because he set the way for us to be who we are. Our connection to him is not like the connections to our fathers. He might be your father, you might be a Sayyid, but our connection to them and to him is the connection of faith. And inshallah tomorrow we will talk about that understanding of connection. Walhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. والصلاة على محمد وعلى آله الطيبين الطاهرين.